Okay, I'm going to get started. All right, so this is a taster of a paper that Simon and I have written, a very preliminary paper in some ways, seeking to address what we see as a lack of attention to non-human animals in the burgeoning field of AI ethics, and also a lack of attention to AI in critical animal studies. So yeah, probably a nice compliment in some way to what Kendra just said. And by way of background, I'm a socio-legal scholar with a long history researching business regulation and legal ethics. And Simon is a former veterinarian, now a philosopher and digital ethicist. And yeah, I'm going to present and Simon's going to correct whatever I say wrong in the question time. So we're going to give a brief account of what motivates our concern, set out our pragmatic conceptual framework for expanding our thinking about the potential harms of AI to include harm to animals, and provide some illustrations of how it might work to illuminate animal experiences that might otherwise go unexamined. So we're defining AI quite broadly as computers being able to perform tasks that are associated with intelligent beings, human or animal. And so I think actually the sort of things we're interested in have already been really beautifully introduced and illustrated by Emily and Kendra. So we're talking about, you know, the use of big data from the internet, from sensors in the environment and on or in human and animal bodies. And we're talking about modern machine learning, including machine vision, natural language processing and speech recognition. And there are a wide range of ways in which these AI-enabled technologies already incorporate, or we might say entangle, non-human animals into their purview. And these include precision livestock farming, which is what Kendra was just talking about, wildlife conservation monitoring, which is what Emily was talking about, also the Internet of Things in the home, which can include companion animals, various kinds of automated vehicles and robots, including self-driving cars and delivery drones, and also animal-related content online, which I think Deborah will probably be talking about. And we're not talking about generalized AI. So as we know, despite all its promise to do good, it's already increasingly obvious that AI-enabled technologies can harm humans in a variety of ways, ranging from unreliable and inaccurate decisions that particularly affect vulnerable people, such as robo-debt here in Australia, embedding and amplifying existing biases in the source data, such as racism, amplifying false information or harmful content, and you know, basically just potentially going against the interests of human flourishing, such as, you know, use for automated weapons or perhaps more prosaically surveillance advertising. And our hunch is that non-human living beings are equally likely to be harmfully affected as human beings are. Now, it has been suggested that AI could significantly benefit animals. So machine learning might be used to try to make better sense of animal communication. And we've also just heard about the promise of AI in terms of animal welfare on farms, but there's been less attention paid to the ways in which AI could harm animals. And although there's been just a few papers recently, including a couple co-authored notably by Peter Singer. So we're seeking to contribute to this debate. And of course, we know that technology historically has caused both benefits and harms to animals. So if we think about the way in which farm machinery might have relieved beasts of burden of some of the harms, but on the other hand, if we think about something like the Chicago stockyards, then that basically intensified factory-style animal production, causing massive harms for billions of animals and essentially enabling certain animals to be treated as cogs in an industrial machine. So what we do in our paper is propose a systematic broad church account of how AI does and might harm animals. And our concern is with the impact of AI on individual animals and their particular relationships with their social groups and their habitat, as well as with their humans. So we're not just concerned with species conversation, although of course impacts on species will harm individual animals and their social groups. And we suggest that concern is warranted as a corrective against anthropocentrism because individual animals do have their own interests and concerns worth consideration, and also because human and non-human animal flourishing are related to each other. But we're not tying our framework to any one particular ethical theory or, making any particular principles or policy statements about how or why animals matter and how their interests should be balanced. So this is really just about raising questions rather than proposing any particular solutions. And we accept that a wide range of harms could potentially be relevant, ranging from basic health and negative experiences of pain and distress through to unsatisfied desires to go outside, perhaps, or perhaps not, death, social harms such as loss of a mate or even loss of culture of a group of animals in a particular place. And we also consider the possibility that animals might have an interest in their own privacy in some sense. And we're particularly interested in representational harms through AI, that is, harms that stem from how we as humans think of non-human animals and therefore form the foundation of how we create our own societies and economies to relate to or use or abuse animals. Our framework considers both intentional and unintentional harms from AI to non-human animals, and also direct and indirect harms. And so what it does is it reminds us that the use of AI to intentionally harm animals in ways which are currently considered illegal or antisocial would really only be one category of how we might see harms to animals. There might be many other important ways in which AI harms animals by significantly amplifying harms that are currently legal or socially accepted, such as factory farming, as well as those that are unintentional and especially indirect. And in particular, I know I'm so interested in the overall shape, or what I call the moral economy, of in whose interests AI is developed, and whether that's likely to lead to AI technology being developed in a way that is takes into account particular interests and values that are either harmful or beneficial to non-human animals. So we developed the framework on the basis of the literature, and then we basically sort of tested the framework by looking for examples of these sort of harms in the literature on AI, and with particular regard to the AI-enabled technologies that I mentioned before, so precision agriculture, wildlife conservation, automated vehicles and robots, algorithmic recommender systems, and companion animals in the Internet of Things. And so I'm just going to briefly talk to each of the categories, and Deborah, just tell me if I run out of time. So firstly, thinking about intentional, so of course, the most obvious is AI that might be intentionally designed and used to harm animals in ways that are illegal or antisocial. And we know that a major use of the dark web is actually the illegal trade of wildlife, exotic species. And so we might expect that these traders would also be very interested in other AI that could help them to track down target animals for that trade. But I think it's more interesting to start thinking about some of the other impacts beyond some of these really obvious ones. So we might think about AI that's been designed for some other purpose being intentionally abused by badly motivated actors. So there's been examples where poachers or illegal wildlife traders have tried to hack into wildlife conservation monitoring and drones in order to steal the animals, essentially. There's also been an example where wildlife conservationists were tracking great white sharks, and then the government, the state government, I would argue, illegally then misused that data to kill the sharks that were supposedly being conserved. We might also think about the harm that could occur through microchipped animals being part of Internet of Things in the home, meaning making it easier for domestic violence perpetrators to track down companion animals and their humans. And we know that they already use microchips to help them do that and then harm the humans and their animals. We also expect AI technology to amplify harm to animals from existing practices that are legal or socially acceptable, because essentially the scale and speed and promises of efficiency and greater control that come from AI technologies in things like precision farming and also in traditional conservation, which may not value all animals. In terms of unintentional harms, we find that unexpected direct harms from AI. So this is where the AI technologies might code in prejudice or ignorance about certain animals, and I think Emily sort of partly referred to this kind of issue. But we found, so self-driving cars are coded to avoid certain things, but Volvo found when they trialled their self-driving cars in Australia, they'd forgotten about kangaroos and how they're different to European animals. But we also know that people won't code in for the car to swerve to avoid a smaller animal because it's not going to harm the car or the occupants. There's also a beautiful example of delivery drones which failed to account for the fact that they're actually flying into bird habitat, and so the ravens didn't really like the delivery drones doing that. So that's ignorance or prejudice, but also these black box or opaque systems can start acting autonomously and promoting harm in a way that was unintentional for those who created, or arguably unintentional for those who created the system. So we might expect algorithmic recommender systems to start promoting harmful content to animals. Again, there is a big market on the internet for animal cruelty of various kinds. And so we suspect that algorithmic recommender systems may well end up promoting it, because we know they often promote violence or conflict and so on. So those are direct unintentional harms. In terms of indirect unintentional harms, there's an increasing literature, which I'm also working on the material footprint of AI and digital technologies. So things like energy use, which of course contributes to climate change and to harming the environment, which means destroying habitat. So that's one dimension of indirect harm from AI. But I think we're particularly interested in the way that epistemic harms may be amplified by AI. So within precision livestock farming, we see impoverished, what we would argue is an impoverished view of animal welfare. So that biometric data is privileged, but perhaps not other dimensions that are relevant to to the interests of the animals in those systems. There's been, Peter Singer was a co-author on a study which showed that in fact, when you use ImageNet and WordNet and do searches on them, they already have coded in bias against certain species. So certain animals will have very negative words or meat-eating words associated with them, whereas others will have lovely words associated with them.
Time to wrap up, Christine.
Great, that's good. Thank you. And that brings me to my last point, which was this. The final issue of foregone benefits, or as I said at the beginning, what I like to think of as the moral economy of AI development. So while AI might have potential benefits for non-human animals, we expect those developments that favour commercial profit or existing biases to be developed, as opposed to those that are less profitable and perhaps more pro-animal, such as wildlife conservation for non-charismatic species, to give just one little binary. So thank you very much.